Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and macOS 12 Monterey Beta 1 is now out and available to developers. Now the public beta will most likely be coming in July, and as you can see, I installed it earlier. This is just a screenshot. You can see it's macOS 12 Beta, and this might have been before they named it Monterey, but that's the name of the new version. Now along with this, they also released iOS 15 Beta 1, iPadOS 15 Beta 1, as well as watchOS 8 Beta 1 and tvOS Beta 1. So all of those, or tvOS 15 Beta 1, all of those are available now for developers. And this particular update was a huge update, and the install took quite some time. You'll see it was 11.78 gigabytes. That's on my M1 MacBook Pro 13-inch. And as far as the supported devices this time around, they've been a little bit limited. So as you can see here, the supported devices are 2015 and later MacBook, early 2015 and later MacBook Air, early 2015 and later MacBook Pro, late 2014 and later Mac Mini, late 2015 and later iMac, 2017 and later iMac Pro, and late 2013 and later Mac Pro. So those are now the supported devices. MacBook Air loses a little bit of support. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the build number. We'll go to About This Mac. And under About This Mac, you can see this is the M1 13-inch 2020, and here is the build number. So it's 21A5248P, and this is the first version. We can expect the final version usually around September when they release iOS 13, for example. Now, the first new thing in this update is the wallpaper you see in the background here. They always add a new wallpaper, and if we go to Desktop and Screensaver in our system preferences, you'll see it sort of drew that a little bit differently on the screen. If we scroll down, we have one macOS Monterey wallpaper. We can switch between light and dark. As you can see here, I'll move this out of your way so you can see the full wallpaper. And this particular wallpaper is the only one currently available. I would expect more later on. However, there is one thing to note in here is maybe you want to switch to a Big Sur wallpaper. You can see now that you have to download it. It's not installed by default, but it's still here for you to download and install. They do take up quite a bit of room since they're available for the 6K Pro Display XDR, for example. So you now have the option to download and install those even from previous ones as well. Now, Apple has said with their update page that in this version there will be a new Hello screensaver. We've seen that on the new iMac. It's not available yet. And there will also be a new Hello screen or picture here for your desktop. It's not here yet. There's nothing here other than these photos with different colors. So there will be a new Hello version for your desktop as well in the future. Now, if we go back to System Preferences and we go under Battery, click on Battery, and you'll see there's now low power mode. You now have the option to put your Mac in low power mode. Maybe you're down to about 20% of your power and you need to save that power to get you a little bit further. You can use this. However, the overall performance usually will be decreased, as it says here, to reduce energy consumption. So if you're working on a video, for example, this won't really help you out. But if maybe you're just using Safari, browsing the web, or using email, it should help a little bit with that. Now, something we can't see yet that they've said they're adding, but we don't have the option for, is the ability to erase all content in settings on any T2 Mac. So what that means is we'll have the option right from here to erase everything, all user data and user installed apps, because everything's encrypted. So they say because the storage is always encrypted on Mac systems with Apple Silicon or T2 chip, the system is instantly and securely erased by destroying the encryption keys. So it erases everything, but then keeps the OS intact, preventing you from having to do a full reinstall, wiping the device and reinstalling. So that'll be a nice feature in the future, very similar to what we have on iOS, for example. Now, something new you may have already noticed is there's a new passwords here in System Preferences. If we click on Passwords, it opens up a new password screen. We have to put in a password, and this will give you passwords with security recommendations. You also have the option to add one here with the plus button. We can add a new website with a password, delete one, or click this arrow and import passwords or export passwords. So if we want to do that, we have that option. And of course, we can completely manage the passwords from here as well. And there's built-in two-factor authentications, for example. Now, so far with the Passwords app, Keychain still exists. Maybe it will go away in the future, but it's still there. So you do have the option to use Keychain still. So we'll close that. Under our applications, we can go down and under Utilities, we have keychain access. So the app is still there and fully usable. So maybe they'll remove that in the future. Now, one thing you may have already noticed as well is Siri looks slightly different up here. The little icon is different. And because I'm using a microphone to record this video, if we click on Control Center, it's letting me know that I'm using a microphone. So it's saying something is using an active microphone and recording. We have this on iPhone and iPad. Now we have it on Mac as well. So it's letting us know. Now within this, we have focus. So if we click on Do Not Disturb, we now have the option to switch to our focus modes, just like we do on iOS 15. So we can switch to work if we set up one like that, Do Not Disturb, click on Focus Preferences, and under Focus Preferences, we can set up different things such as sleep, for example, or we can create a new one. So if we click the plus here, we can name this one Home, for example. We can select an icon if we'd like, click Add, and under Home, we can add people that we can allow notifications from. We can also automate some tasks as well, based on time, location, and more. So maybe when we arrive home, it will enable this for us to focus just on people that are home. We'll no longer receive notifications from apps we choose or from people at work, for example, that maybe we don't want to hear from when we're at home. You can add apps so that we only get notifications from certain ones. So this is all built in now with macOS Monterey. Now, if you do get notifications, they do look a little bit different. So you have notification preferences here, and this looks pretty much the same, but the overall notification themselves looks a little bit different. It's been redesigned just like iOS, for example. So it's a slight change, but as you can see here, the camera turned off and on. We can clear all. The clearing ability has not changed completely though. Something we don't get from iOS just yet are new widgets. So if we edit widgets, we do have current ones such as stocks and weather, for example. And we also have Find My now, but there isn't a new one for App Store yet, for example, or any of the other new ones. So hopefully we'll see that in the future. We don't have that just yet. Now, another thing they've added is called Universal Control. This will allow us to use our mouse or our trackpad or maybe our keyboard that's paired with our Mac on an iPad as well, just by placing it nearby with an iPadOS 15 device, for example. Now, unfortunately, at this time, Universal Control isn't working just yet. So Apple will have this in later betas and the final release. But generally what you would do is move your mouse cursor, maybe from your trackpad on your MacBook Pro over to your iPad to the edge of the screen, and then it would seamlessly jump to the iPad. You could do this with two Macs and an iPad as well. So if you want to drag and drop a screenshot or something like that from your Mac to the iPad or from your iPad back to the Mac, you can do that. And you can use external keyboard, mice, and trackpad as well, or trackpads as well. So you'll have the option to do that in the future. Right now it's not active, but this was one of the best things they showed about Monterey, that it just seamlessly worked. The only catch is they need to be on the same Wi-Fi network, have Bluetooth turned on, and be on the same iCloud account. Then it knows that everything's connected and it will just seamlessly jump between the two. So I can't wait to try that out, but it's not available yet. Now in macOS Monterey, you can now AirPlay from an iPhone over to a Mac or from an iPad to a Mac, for example. So you'll see I'm in a video here, and if I hit share, if you scroll down, go to AirPlay. Under AirPlay, you now have the option for MacBook Pro M1 13-inch, and immediately it switches over to the MacBook. I can hit play, and it plays on the MacBook. If I pause it on the iPhone, it pauses there. So just like you can AirPlay to anything else, it now works on the iPhone to the MacBook as well. And then as soon as I turn it off here, we'll turn off AirPlay, bring it back to your iPhone, and now it's back. So it's really nice to have that finally on MacBook. Now, something they've added here also is shortcuts. They've finally added it to Mac, and eventually it's going to take the place of Automator. All of your different Automator scripts or whatever you've created can now work within Shortcuts. So Shortcuts works just like you would expect. You have quick actions here on the side. You can add these quick actions to eventually to Finder, although I'm not seeing those yet. And you can also add them to the touch bar if you have a touch bar Mac. You also have the option to add them up at the top here in your menu. So you could do Bluetooth off or Shazam or whichever one you'd like. You can use any of them or select some new ones from the gallery, for example. So you have all of these different shortcuts, and you'll be able to move Automator into this as well. So it will take the place of that. You also have the option for advanced scripting. And maybe if we go back to all shortcuts and let's create one under our ability to create one, we can use scripting, for example. So we have advanced scripting if we want it, and shell script capability as well. So we have the options we really like from before, but we can use shortcuts along with that. So you have both options. So you can see here, edit script, run script. You have many more options than you have on iPhone, but then you can move this over to an iPhone as well. So they've updated it here. So it's system-wide, and you'll eventually be able to run it from the Finder, the menu bar, Spotlight, the dock, desktop, and more. So eventually you'll have all of those options. Some of them are there, like I showed you with the menu, for example. Now within the Finder, there's some updates as well. Now, one thing we can't see yet is on the sidebar, you'll eventually be able to add shortcuts. I'm not sure if it's just not here, but I wasn't able to add them by dragging and dropping, and there's no option to turn them on yet. However, one thing you may notice is shared. We now have a collaboration folder. If we're collaborating in Pages, for example, or Notes, we'll have anything that's saved in the collaboration folder, and we can share it with other people. So we have that option now as well. Now, another option we have is with full screen apps. If we go into our system preferences and then we go to dock and menu bar, at the bottom we have the option to automatically hide and show the menu bar in full screen. Now this is what we normally have. It will show the menu bar when you move your cursor to the top, and then it will hide. However, if we uncheck this, it should show it at all times. So if we go into Safari, for example, and go full screen, now the menu bar is at the top. It won't go away. You'll see it does behave a little bit odd right now. Maybe they'll change this in the future, but it doesn't go away. If we go back here and check this, it should now automatically hide it and then come back. Now it is acting a little bit strange. It's an early beta, but as you can see now it hides it. So you now have the option. If you want the menu bar full time, you'll have the option. Now with Safari, there's some updates as well. And as you can see already, here Safari looks a little bit different. It's not hugely different, but maybe we'll add a tab here. We've got a start page. Maybe we'll open Google here. And then over here, we'll open Apple. We'll go back to Google, and you'll see it looks a little bit different. So we have our tabs at the top. They match the page itself. So it turns black for Apple, goes back to white for Google, for example. So it matches the page. And then if we click on our sidebar here, we now have tab groups. So we can create a group maybe on an iPad or an iPhone and then bring them over to the Mac. So if I click on Apple, you've got this tab group here. We've got new tabs, and you can create more. So they've redesigned this tab. We've also got the option for a new empty tab group. So if we go back to our main tabs, go back to Apple, you can also see that a little note pops up in the bottom right. This is called Quick Notes. And if I click on this, we've got a quick note that I created from an iPad in the iPadOS video. I created this, copy and pasted some text and imagery from this website. It recognized that there's a quick note about this page and popped up here. You can add a quick note on macOS as well with a control center icon or gestures as well, and do that on any website you'd like. So that's something that's a little bit new with Safari. There's also additional security as well. Now within Notes, this is a new note, so we'll just say Apple, and then maybe we'll add a tag that says MacBook. And eventually you'll be able to search these tags. Now it's not showing up properly for me on macOS, but it shows up properly in reminders where they've added those tags as well. So I think it's just not complete yet, but I'm not able to find it. If you found it, let me know. I'm not able to search for them or anything. Eventually you'll be able to actually search for them in this update. So you have that with quick notes that I mentioned earlier, and better collaboration tools. So maybe you're sharing a document with someone, collaborating. Now when they make changes, it'll let you know. So it will actually let you know when someone's made a change when you come back in, and you'll be able to see that. Also, if someone mentions you, you can actually see what they've said about the change you need to make. So that's something that's new as well. Now also there's some updates with keyboard dictation. For example, if we go and start dictation, it now uses on-device technology to enable this, and it also records directly from the Mac itself, meaning it doesn't need to go to the internet in order to translate this. It will allow you to say whatever you're saying continuously, where it used to be limited to 60 seconds. So now it's working on the fly, as you can see here, and working as you would think. So you can continue to type just like this. It understands it pretty well, and it has on-device learning for this. It may be limited to certain Macs though. Now they've updated Maps, and something that's a little bit different that you don't see on other devices is this is limited to M1 Macs or Apple Silicon Macs. So if we go into Maps, Within Maps, you can see there's a globe. For some reason, this globe is actually limited to M1 Macs. So there might be something where it's using the neural engine to do this. And then also, if we go into San Francisco, there's some new map detail as well. Again, much of this detail is actually limited to M1 Macs for some reason. So if we go into this park here, it even has trees and additional detail. So you'll see all the trees and the different detail here. This is limited to M1 Macs for some reason with some of these updates. Now, many of the updates to maps will be in other Macs as well, but this is specific to M1 for some reason, that in the globe. Now, if we go back to apple.com and scroll down, there's now universal lookup built in, or what they call live text built into iOS, macOS, and iPadOS. So maybe we want to know what the word capabilities means, or look this up. We can right click on it or control click, try it again here, and look up capabilities. And we'll hit continue, and it gives us not only the dictionary definition, but also we have Siri knowledge as well, capability approach, and then also if we control click or right click, we can translate it. So if we want to translate it to another language, we can enable translation, and you'll see it translated it to Spanish. This is built in across the OS. So you have live text, not only here for text, but it's also looking up photos as well. It can recognize images and tell you more about them. So if we go into photos, here's an iPhone, as you can see here. Now, I've not been able to get the live lookup to work here yet. It may be coming in the future with some of this, so it's not 100% accurate just yet. But something they have changed is maybe we go to People, and under People, I have this emoji or memoji. And if I scroll down, you'll see it says features the Aaron memoji less. So this will not feature it in my memories anymore. Memories has been updated on iOS, iPadOS as well, and watchOS. If I feature this less, it will feature me less in things such as memories and featured photos. So I don't want to feature my memoji in anything. I don't really care to see that in different featured memories or photos. If I go to memories, here's a memory of just me recording video outside. And if I turn down the volume here, we'll go into this memory and you can see it will start downloading and then play in just a moment. So it will start playing. We can go to the options here and we have some different versions of dreamy, takes a moment, or we have sentimental, gentle, and chill. And then eventually we'll have more options for music and more that will work with Apple Music, for example. Now on any photo online or in your Photos app, for example, on iOS 15, iPadOS 15, or macOS Monterey, it will now recognize text. This is called live text. So if I click on this photo, it recognizes that this is text right here. I can copy and paste that. It recognizes any text within any photo. So it works on this one. Let me switch to a different one. You'll see here's a text of the new WWDC sticker. It recognizes WWDC as I highlight it, the 21. It recognizes the word reply, for example. All of these things are just recognized as text automatically on these devices. So this is super helpful across iOS and macOS and iPadOS. There's also visual lookup, which I called live text earlier, but this is live text. Visual lookup lets you identify things about this. So if I right click, I can say look up and it will tell me about WWDC or the Worldwide Developer Conference. Now FaceTime gets some updates as well. I showed this in the iOS update video, but when I tried to screen record FaceTime on the MacBook Pro, it wouldn't work. For example, it just kept the background exactly how you see it now without FaceTime open. So it's sort of a secure recording thing where you can't record the screen while on a FaceTime call. Maybe you'll be able to do that in the future, but currently I wasn't able to do that. But if we go into FaceTime, and within FaceTime, I now have the option to create a link. This lets me send a link to a call that maybe I want to schedule at a later time. So I can send it to anyone on Windows or even Android, and they can pick this up as long as they have a web browser and join the FaceTime call. It's still end-to-end encrypted as well. So that's something that's new. And then let me go ahead and try and call myself. You'll see I tried this to call myself just to show you some of the different features. Now within a FaceTime call, some of the options aren't working yet, but you can go to this option here, add a person. You can also have a grid view if you have a bunch of people here, just to have them all in an equal grid. And then also you can mute the mic, mute the camera, of course, or turn the camera off. And also if you click on your video here, See if I can get it to work. We'll close that side out. Click on the video. On an M1 Mac, you now have portrait mode in video. Now this only works on an M1, but you'll see in the background it's all blurry. So that's something new with FaceTime. Now, another thing they've updated is messages. So if I go into messages, when you're in messages, maybe you have multiple photos, it will now put them together and organize them together. It's also easier to save the photo as well. You can scan the document, for example, so you could do all of that right from messages. And then you also get suggestions in other apps. Maybe you had someone share a news article with you here. You could go into news and you'll see shared with you there if it's a news article. The same works for other applications as well. Now also, if we click on the little button here and we go to Memoji, we click on the 3 dots and maybe we edit one, we now have some new things as far as nasal cannula. There's tons of different changes here. So you'll see there's a nasal cannula there. So you have a bunch of different options, 40 different clothing styles, additions to this, just like you would expect. Apple updates this regularly, and they've done this across iOS, iPadOS, and macOS as well. Now there's additional updates to accessibility. I've talked about these on the iOS video as well, where within accessibility, we have better understanding for voiceover, where it tells us what we're looking at with more detail on a photo, for example, and can identify where maybe someone's face is located within the image as well to give you more detail about it. So all of the same things that are coming to iOS are coming to macOS, watchOS, and iPadOS. So all of those things carry across. And so along with universal control and all of the different changes I've mentioned before, I think it's a nice update. It's not as huge as you might think. There's a lot of refinement and changes, but not a visual overhaul. We got that last year with macOS Big Sur. But if I find anything else significant, of course, I'll mention it in a separate video. And if you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.